Gene Hackman's existence changed into one full of great achievements and unforgettable moments each in his performing career and private existence. I simply want to start at the beginning just for a second and say sitting accessible next to Barbara Harris rings a bell in my memory of my first appearing scene ever. Known for his super range of roles, he captivated audiences for decades. Satisfactory to be lower back inside the dry county again. When I was sheriff, approximately half of my take. Domestic pay changed into gathering. However, there has been one final phone name that would mark the cease of a generation for the mythical actor. Are you with the FA now? Yeah, I'm over at their assets. There's no cope with here. Allows explore the info of his last conversation, a Hollywood legend's demise before his death. Gene Hackman's very last smartphone name left anyone shocked. However, earlier than we dive into the shocking details of that name permits first take a step returned. Let's begin with the tragic events surrounding Gene's passing and the mysterious situations which have left many asking more questions than answers. From his unexpected absence from the public eye to the eerie moments main up to his death, Gene Hackman's ultimate days seem to mirror the suspenseful roles he played so perfectly on screen. Gene Hackman's existence changed into a charming journey of acting brilliance, quiet reclusiveness, and a profound effect on the arena of cinema. Born in San Bernardino, California on January 30, 1930, Gene's early years have been marked by a modest upbringing. His family wasn't wealthy, however they had their percentage of stories, and those memories helped form the man Gene could come to be. After spending time in diverse parts of California, his own family sooner or later settled within the small metropolis of Danville, Illinois, wherein he could later graduate from excessive faculty. It become right here that Gene first observed his love for performing, even though he became greater of a shy, reserved man or woman all through his more youthful years. Earlier than finishing high school, he enlisted inside the U.S. Marine Corps at the age of 16. Mendacity about his age to do so. Yeah, I changed into in a Marines. I long passed in after I changed into 16. My what have been the situations main up to the choice a 16-year antique child makes approximately going into the Marine Corps. For you, the Navy revel in performed a sizable function in shaping Gene's personality and worldview, instilling in him a sense of subject that could later serve him properly in his appearing career. He then went on to earn a better degree. It become at some stage in his time at the University of Illinois that he honed his performing abilities and became extreme about the profession. After commencement, he moved to New York City, wherein he labored in small theater productions and even took on a few minor TV roles. He studied on the prestigious Actor Studio, where he skilled alongside Destiny legends like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Early on, Gene was recognized for his intensity, his capability to inhabit an individual deeply, and his high-quality variety. He wasn't only a typical leading guy, he became the type of actor who could seamlessly transition between roles that required a pointy fringe of risk or vulnerability. Whether or not he changed into gambling, a charming anti-hero, or a menacing villain, New York was a challenge. However, it became also in which Gene's craft commenced to flourish. The competitive tough global of Broadway and off-Broadway gave Gene the grit and resilience he might bring with him for the duration of his profession. Within the early years of his profession, Gene often struggled to land main roles, but even in the one's early performances his expertise shone through, and it wasn't long before he caught the ye of Hollywood. His leap forward came in 1967, whilst he changed into cast in The French Connection, directed by William Friedkin. Gene's function as Detective Popey Doyle marked a turning factor, but Gene became turned into not the typical Hollywood actor. He did not need reputation or attention. He wasn't inquisitive about the glitzy world of purple carpets and glamorous events. Gene became more cushy on set or quietly at home, away from the general public eye. This reluctance to include the limelight became a subject matter during his profession. Inside the years following The French Connection, Gene built a recognition as one of the maximum versatile actors in Hollywood. He moved among genres comfortably, taking on roles that spanned the whole thing from crime thrillers just like The Communication 1974 to comedies consisting of Young Frankenstein 1974, and I Live Right Here All by Myself, What's Your Call, I Didn't Get That, and The Royal Tenenbaums 2001. Each overall performance become uniquely his, marked through the quiet intensity and understated brilliance that became his trademark. Gene's capability to bring depth to any man or woman made him a particularly sought-after actor. His function within The Communication, for example, showcased his capacity to deliver complex emotions without uttering a word. As Harry Name, a paranoid surveillance professional, Gann captivated audiences along with his minimalistic but powerful performance. The movie was no longer a box workplace hit. However, it earned critical acclaim and cemented Gene's status as one of the best actors of his technology, notwithstanding his tough, frequently intimidating on-display screen persona. People who knew him defined Hackman as type-hearted, warm and a loyal pal. He had a reputation for being down-to and humble, an actor who failed to trust in elevating himself above others. He additionally had a tender spot for animals, especially his beloved puppies, and changed into regarded for his generosity and quiet acts of kindness on any other. Be aware, Gene became additionally recognized for retaining his personal life private. He became married twice, first to actress Faye Morse, with whom he had 3 kids, and later to Betsy, his second spouse, who would be his partner for the remainder of his lifestyles. Gene and Betsy were acknowledged to live in a secluded domestic simply outside Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they found peace far from the prying eyes of Hollywood. It was right here in this quiet sanctuary that Gene spent his final years, far removed from the arena that made him famous. By the time Gene reached his 70s, his career turned into slowing down. Although he persisted to tackle occasional roles, his presence in films have become much less frequent, and he commenced to retreat greater into his personal life. Gene's recognition as a thoughtful, introspective guy grew in parallel with his retreat from public lifestyles. He became now not the young wild star of the 70s, however a pro actor who had visible and finished all of it. His choice to step lower back from appearing become in many methods a mirrored image of his personality. He was by no means someone who craved the highlight. Gene had in no way been one to indulge in the eye of his fame, and as he elderly, he located consolation in a quieter life. His love for writing and painting became an essential part of his later years. Even though he had carried out a lot in Hollywood, his focus in retirement shifted towards non-public passions, and he observed success in growing art. Despite his many accolades, which includes Academy Awards, a Golden Globe, and numerous nominations, Gene remained grounded. His legacy as an actor is one of exquisite versatility, and his films will hold to stand. Take a look at Of Time, from The French Connection to Unforgiven. Gene's work stays etched inside the records of cinema, but past his film career it became Gene's humility, his quiet nature, and his refusal to comply to the everyday Hollywood milieu that clearly set him aside. The loss of life of the pretty reputable actor Gene Hackman. Gene's dying on February 26, 2025 marked the stop of an technology. The information changed into met with shock and disappointment as lovers and associates alike mourned the loss of a true Hollywood legend. Our network lost a massive and I misplaced a dear friend, Gene Hackman. While Gene's passing left a void within the global of cinema, his effect keeps to resonate. His amazing talent, coupled together with his reluctance to trying to find fame, made him one of the most liked and respected figures in movie records. He might be ignored through all who knew him and by way of those whose lives had been touched by means of his paintings on display screen. Now, before we percentage his very last telephone call, allows discover the shady instances surrounding his and Betsy's demise. Shady occasions. Gene Hackman and Betsy Orokowa had been strangers to the quiet, peaceful existence they had constructed of their Santa Fe domestic. The couple had largely withdrawn from public life in latest years, leading to what many defined as a more insular life. Gene, the legendary actor, had long retired, even as Betsy Orokowa, his spouse of over a long time, managed their personal and expert affairs with quiet willpower. Together they had been recognized for his or her generosity, mainly in the direction of animals. They had 3 dogs, and their deep affection for them became widely recognized of their Santa Fe community. However, on February 26, 2025, their international came to a chilling and mysterious quit. Gene Hackman, 95, and Betsy Orokowa, 65, had been discovered useless internal their home along one among their dogs. The occasions surrounding their deaths have been baffling from the begin. It seemed as though they were gone for every week or longer earlier than their bodies have been observed. That is in which things commenced to get even greater bizarre. The information surrounding their deaths in the beginning seemed enormously straightforward, but the greater the research spread out, the more questions arose. The government located Gene in the mudroom of their residence, mendacity, next to his cane and shades. Betsy was located inside the restroom, her body displaying clear symptoms of decomposition, yet there had been no signs of violence or external trauma. Their deaths have been deemed suspicious, however there has been little to head w. It is easy to imagine that during their final years Gene and Betsy had grown tired of the steady interest of the outdoor international. They had been acknowledged to be non-public individuals, not often pleasing guests or making public appearances. In reality, their near buddies Daniel and Barbara Lenahan said that they hadn't visible the couple in years. The Lenahan, who had acknowledged Gene for over 3 many years, had only exchanged rare conversation with the couple in the years main as much as their deaths. Betsy especially had come to be very shielding of her husband in recent years, particularly after the pandemic. She had grown more reclusive, only permitting certain people into their lives and carefully managing Jean's fitness and proper being. This behavior raised suspicions among folks who knew them. However, nobody should have foreseen the tragic and eerie final results of this insular existence. Joey Padilla, the person liable for education and caring for the couple's 3 puppies, observed the deep bond the couple shared with their pets. He defined that Betsy became constantly cautious about who interacted with Jean, and that she became particularly shielding of him. It became clear that she would do anything to make sure his protection and luxury. She ran maximum of the errands for the couple, and the dogs, particularly Xena, have been her steady companions. Xena, a 12-year-old mixed German Shepherd breed, became the first canine to be located useless after the discovery of the couple's bodies. The bond between Betsy and the puppies turned into undeniable, and for plenty it made the occasion surrounding their deaths even more complicated. The couple's love for animals was well known in their community. Joey recalled that Betsy and Jean had been beneficent donors to the local humane society and were loved for their kindness. Betsy particularly turned into recognized to treat the group of workers at Santa Fe stories with top-notch generosity, often shopping for Christmas dinner for the complete crew. Their warm temperature and quiet acts of kindness painted a stark contrast to the sudden and shocking way their lives got here to and give up. However, what truly raises eyebrows in this example is the lack of instant solutions. The couple's deaths were ruled suspicious, however, now not because of any obvious trauma. The government quickly ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning because the reason, which left the research with few leads. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department confirmed that their bodies had likely been sitting there for over every week earlier than being located. However, what precisely befell throughout that point stays a thriller. Even as there had been no signs of a foul play, the couple's private and guarded life only seemed to deepen the thriller. Jean and Betsy had lived in relative seclusion for numerous years earlier than their deaths. The Santa Fe domestic became tucked far away from the prying eyes of the public. However, their reclusiveness had additionally raised issues. Were there others who might have been involved? Of their deaths became someone close to them, a person within their small circle of relied on people hiding something. Especially unsettling detail in the research became the healing of an orange prescription bottle and a 2025 planner. These gadgets raised greater questions than they responded. Then there has been the discovery of the prescription bottle. Inside the years leading up to their deaths, Hackman have been growing older and residing with health troubles, and it's possible that medicine was involved. It's miles really worth questioning whether or not the prescription bottle could offer a glimpse into his nation of fitness earlier than dying. May want to it have performed a position within the tragic events that opened up, or is it truly every other insignificant piece within the puzzle? The dog's behavior also pointed to something being off. They were very close to their owners, especially Xena, who were inseparable from Betsy while the animals had been observed. It became clean that the dogs had no longer reacted to any intruder or signal of conflict. This raised extra questions. If there had been a break-in or forceful entry, wouldn't the dogs have acted otherwise? Would not they have tried to guard their proprietors? The fact that they didn't upload every other layer of bewilderment to an already perplexing case. Investigators have up to now been unable to definitively determine what triggered the couple's deaths, and the case remains open. Whilst they have got ruled out some possibilities consisting of foul play, there are nonetheless many unanswered questions. It is clear that the deaths of Gan and Betsy are shrouded in thriller, and as time is going at the information of their final days simplest appear to grow to be murkier as the research maintains. Many are left wondering if we will ever honestly apprehend what happened in that Santa Fe home. The quiet life that Jean Hackman and Betsy Orokawa had chosen for themselves can also have been and try to break out the complexities of fame in public lifestyles. However, in the long run it seems that it changed into the very privateness they loved that led to their premature and mysterious loss of life. Cellular phones have been also located in their home. These small clues seem to suggest there was extra to the story than met the eye, yet government have no longer revealed lots about the content of the phones. Why had been the telephones mainly left behind? Had a person tried to reach them in the days main up to their deaths, or had been the phones intentionally left to be located? Let's examine the very last smartphone call. Jean Hackman had the very last telephone call. Jean Hackman's demise become a mysterious occasion that left extra questions than solutions. The Hollywood icon and his wife Betsy passed away below strange and unexplained circumstances, and the details surrounding their very last days have only deepened the thriller. Whilst the research has raised limitless questions, none have been as baffling because the discovery of Jean's final cell phone call, one that has left investigators scrambling for factors. The timeline of Jean's closing days has been pieced collectively through interviews with friends, buddies, and regulation enforcement. In his later years, Jean had lived a quiet and in general reclusive existence with Betsy in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He had largely stepped far away from the public I occasionally making uncommon appearances, however otherwise retaining to himself his love of animals, particularly the couple's 3 puppies become widely recognized, and that they had spent years contributing to numerous charities, but the ones closest to the couple noticed that after the pandemic Jean and Betsy have become even greater withdrawn, distancing themselves from nearly everybody. Regardless of this isolation, there was no indication that whatever became amiss in the final month main up to Jean's passing, no symptoms of misery, no outward issues. However, then came the smartphone call, one that has turned out to be an important piece of the investigation. So earlier than his dying, here's G. Hackman's very last cell phone call. And it is surprising, on February 17, Gene Hackman made a name from his domestic. The decision changed into positioned at 11:43 p. past due at night, and it lasted for just over 2 minutes. It changed into now not to a family member, not to a near buddy, not even to emergency service. Instead, the range belonged to a pay-as-you-go disposable phone. The identity of the individual on the opposite end stays unknown, and what was said throughout the 2 minutes has left many shaken. The voice on the alternative end reportedly remained silent for the first 15 seconds of the call. Gene's respiration changed into labored, as though he were walking or was struggling to catch his breath. In step with resources familiar with the research, his voice changed into barely above a whisper, as though he did not need to be overheard. His words have been hard to make out, however the fragments that have leaked paint a chilling image. They located out. He reportedly stated, "I do not know what to do." There was a pause, a sharp inhale, after which every other sentence it wasn't purported to take place. This manner the verbal exchange became an increasing number of frantic investigators believe the opposite character finally spoke at this factor, although their voice changed into too faint to be picked up. Actually, within the analysis, what is known is that Gene's final words on the call were settling, "It is too overdue. I suppose they're already right here." The call then abruptly cut off. The fact that this call happened 9 days earlier than Gene's frame become discovered best raises more questions. If he without a doubt believed that they have been already there, who turned days? Why had the package now not been taken? Internal many theories had been floated, ranging from the mundane to the outright weird. A few agree with Gene changed into affected by paranoia in his very last days, possibly because of illness or intellectual decline. However, folks that knew him insist that he became sharp and clean-headed even in his 90s. Others wonder if he had stumbled upon something he wasn't. Speculated to no one mainly eerie theory shows that Gene had been seeking to warn someone. His desire of words, they observed out, implies that he had information of something mystery. However, what ought to that be, and why would it result in such fear? Others agree with the solution is easier. Gene may additionally were in misery because of an unknown clinical emergency, and the person on the opposite end of the decision simply failed to apprehend the urgency. If that were the case, however, why didn't the recipient call for assist? Some even move as a long way as to indicate that there has been a tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's house, and that what he said at the telephone pertains to that. The reality that authorities have not released the entire details of the autopsy's most effective adds to the mystery. There has been no affirmation on the precise purpose of dying, and police officers have given indistinct responses when pressed. Approximately the case, a few say it's sincerely account of respecting the own family's privateness, others are not so positive. Gene Hackman will constantly be remembered as one in all Hollywood's best actors. His performances in The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Conversation cemented his fame as a legend. However, his very last days have ended up the challenge of infinite hypothesis. His final phone name stays one of the most difficult portions of the puzzle. If Gene had in reality been in hazard, why didn't he call for help? If he turned into afraid of something or a person, why did not he reach out to a person he relied on? And possibly most chilling of all, what did he mean when he said it's too late? I suppose they're already right here. For now, all we will do is watch for greater information. The case stays open and investigators continue to look at each lead. Whether Gene's final call will ever be completely understood remains to be visible. However, one thing is positive that is disturbing changed into there's something unknown about Gene Hackman. Allow us to recognize within the feedback